Then on Sports Central, we go for a college football game preview and prediction on the Week 1 matchup between the Florida State Seminoles and the LSU Tigers. Huge matchup for both these teams coming up here in Week 1. Both teams coming off of disappointing seasons in 2021. Florida State went 5-7, LSU went 6-7. Both teams could definitely use a great start to the season, and that's what this game is for. We'll be going for a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today. Game's going to be on Sunday, September 4th in Baton Rouge. So Tigers are the home team for this matchup, and it's not a typical Saturday college football game. This game is on Sunday night, 6:30 p.m. Central is the kickoff. Spread's going LSU here by 3, so Tigers are favored slightly in this matchup according to the spread by 3 points. Over-under is 51.5, and your FPI is going LSU 72.5%. So the Tigers are favored, you could say, pretty heavily in the FPI versus the spread here, being favored 72% the FPI versus a 3-point spread towards them. Series history, Florida State leads at 7-2. The last game was in 1991 between these two teams, so it has been quite a while since we last saw these two teams face each other. Here's a stat comparison for this matchup. Florida State 57th in points per game last season. These are 2021 stats by rank, so these are out of all 130 FBS teams. We can use this to see where teams were last season and also their strengths, their weaknesses, and use that as a reference moving forward. So Florida State 57th in points per game, 66th in points allowed. Passers a game, they were 89th, 49th in rush yards a game, and then for yards allowed, 70th in passing, 55th in rushing. So a pretty average team statistically here in Florida State. Nothing too great, nothing too bad. I mean, yeah, this team, they just struggle to get wins in the end. LSU 76th in points per game, 75th in points allowed, 36th in passers games. That's a pretty good stat there. 109th in rush yards a game, which is in the bottom 40. And for yards allowed, 91st in passing, 56th in rushing. So, I mean, LSU is a team that's not quite as consistent statistically as Florida State, but at least, I mean, their passing game seemed to have been pretty good last season, being 36th in the nation statistically, even though the rushing game wasn't quite like that. But this is a team that, I mean, shows potential. Both teams show potential going into the season. I mean, even going into 2021, I mean, Florida State went right up. I still remember that Week 1 matchup. I think it was on a Sunday night when Florida State played Notre Dame. And, I mean, Florida State, they competed really well in that matchup. And I was saying after that matchup, like, Florida State could be actually a pretty decent team in the 2021 season. But turns out, I mean, it just wasn't like that. This is a team that was too inconsistent. I mean, they kind of fell like that, and they went 5-7 in the end. I mean, even LSU had the talent last season to be an 8 or 9 win team, I think, but in the end, it was just, I mean, it was a mess with the coaching, and I mean, yeah, 6-7 ended up being the record for LSU. So I mean, these are two teams that I think show potential, and going into 2022, I mean, one of these teams could be a pretty good team this season, I do think. It's just a matter of if these teams can win their close games and pull a couple of upsets. Here's some key points for this one. Florida State, they are 1-0, so they did beat Duquesne 47-7 in Week 0. So don't forget about that. Florida State did already play a game. You could consider that to be an advantage here for Florida State, considering they've been able to be warmed up for this matchup. They had a pretty easy win in Week 0. They got Jordan Travis coming back. They look to improve offensively. His offense was, I mean, it was okay last season, but obviously nothing too outstanding. And this is a huge opportunity here for the Seminoles. This is a team that's 1-0, coming off of a 5-7 team. They're 1-0, and you go to Baton Rouge here in Week 1, your second game of the season, and this is kind of the moment of truth here for Florida State. Is this team able to be a potential dark horse contender this season? And I mean, this is huge for them. If they can win this matchup, go into Baton Rouge and beat a generally good LSU team, I mean, that'd be huge for Florida State. A 2-0 record heading into Week 2, they'd be in really good shape. But for LSU, they're 6-7 last year. They've been in a rebuild phase the last 2 seasons. Don't forget, this is an LSU team that was nothing short of outstanding in 2019. They won the national title, obviously, and I mean, Joe Burrow, that was as good of a college football team as I've seen in recent history. And so LSU, for a team to kind of fall off like they have the past couple of seasons, definitely has been disappointing. But, I mean, they got a new quarterback in town, Jaden Daniels, the Arizona State transfer quarterback, who has shown potential in the past, even though he has disappointed a bit, especially the past, you could say, couple of seasons. But Jaden Daniels is I mean, he's a guy that I see potential in, and I definitely think he could have some success here with the Tigers. And is this team a potential contender again in 2022? I mean, I do think LSU will be better in the 2022 season. I do think this team gets at least 7 to 8 wins. I'd be surprised if they didn't. I don't know if this team is a major contender, but they could pull a couple of upsets, potentially, causing a little bit of noise there in the SEC. But it's a pretty even matchup. Both teams are very capable of winning this matchup. Obviously, big stakes for both these teams heading into a season that is, you could say, pretty crucial for both programs. So let's get to the prediction here for Florida State and LSU. The matchup coming up here in week 1. I'm going LSU 27-21 is my predicted final score. I mean, this is one that I went back and forth on multiple times. Florida State being a team that's already got some experience in the season. They blew out Duquesne in week 0, 47-7. Obviously, I get it's an FCS opponent, not a very good team there that Florida State played. But, I mean, in general, Florida State looked pretty good last week. So, I mean, if they can use some of that momentum, some of that confidence going into this matchup, obviously playing on the road in LSU is not an easy thing to do. So, I mean, you're going to have to play at a really high level, I think, in this matchup against an LSU team that is at home and is in a great environment for them. So, I mean, for Jaden Daniels here for LSU, I mean, I'm more confident in him than I am with Jordan Travis, even though Travis, I do think, is going to be a better quarterback this season. 55% towards LSU, so I'm saying it's going to be a pretty close game. I think, honestly, I mean, Florida State is very capable of winning this matchup. LSU should not be sleepwalking into this game, or else they're going to get caught. Over-under is 51.5. I'll take the under for this matchup, and LSU to cover the spread. That's going to wrap it up for today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this matchup, and I appreciate you guys watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.